see a throne, not an ordinary seat of power, but a great white throne that fills the vision. The whiteness is it's not soft, it's not gentle. It's the white of absolute purity and final authority. The kind of white that exposes everything it touches, okay? Seated on that throne is the one whose presence causes the earth and the heaven to completely flee. There is no place left for them. Creation itself retreats because it cannot remain in the face of the one who now judges without any veil or intermediary whatsoever. The throne stands alone in the open, and before it, every human being who has ever lived is brought to stand. The dead come from every direction. The sea, the oceans give up all of those it has held for centuries, millennia. Death and Hades release the ones they have kept for all this time. No age is missing, no rank is excused, kings and peasants, the famous and the forgotten, those who lived in the height of the little season's deception, and those who lived long before ever even began. All of them, every single one of them, all of them stand in the same place. They are not ghosts, they're not shadows, they are fully present, fully conscious, more alive than they have ever been, and completely and fully accountable. Great and small alike are there, and the distinction of earthly status means nothing in front of this throne that we're talking about. Angels move amongst them. These are not the fallen powers that operated during the little season. These are the holy ones who have remained faithful to their calling. They've remained faithful to their assignments in the divine council. Some gather the dead from the places that they have been held. Others stand as witnesses to the records that are about to be examined. The angels, their presence is orderly, it's purposeful. They are not spectators here. They are carrying out the administration of the judgment that the one on the throne has decreed. Okay? Are you seeing the picture? Nothing is chaotic here. Everything proceeds according to the perfect justice that has been waiting for this moment ever since the little season began to its final, up until the final deception. Like, books are opened. Not one book, many books. These are the records of every life, every word that has ever been spoken, every action taken, every action not taken, every thought entertained in secret, all of it. All of it has been kept. The books are not symbolic. They contain the actual works of each person who has ever lived. As they are being opened, the deeds of every life are brought into the light with complete accuracy. Nothing's messed up. There is no argument, there's no excuse, there are no hidden detail that can be withheld here. The examination is absolutely thorough because the judgment is final here. Another book is opened alongside the other ones. This one is different. It is the book of life. In it are written the names of those who belong to the Lamb. Okay, the names are not there because of any work that are recorded in the other books. They are there because of the Lamb, Christ's own work on their behalf, because those whose names appear in there responded to Jesus in faith and continued in that faith and loyalty through the pressures and all of the deceptions of it in their entire life. Doesn't mean they didn't mess up, but for those whose names are found in the book, the works recorded in the other books are examined in a different light. They are the evidence of a life that was truly joined to Christ, and for those whose names are not found, the works stand alone as the record of a life lived in willful alignment with the deception and the powers that ruled during the little season and even before that. So, like, one by one person by person, souls are brought before the throne. There is no rushing, there's no confusion. Each person steps forward under the weight of their own life. And the air itself seems to grow heavier as their name is called. and the books are opened in front of all of them, and the words written there begin to speak. Every hidden choice, okay, every secret thought, every act done in darkness or in light rises from these pages. The conscience of the person, long either buried or ignored, now rises with them, with these pages. It speaks clearly, without hesitation, confirming or condemning what has already been recorded. Okay. Now, for those whose names are found in the book of life, the conscience of that particular person testifies on their behalf. It speaks of the times that they chose to trust the Lamb, when it would have been easier to completely compromise. It remembers the moments that they turned away from sin, the quiet acts of faithfulness when no one was watching, um, and the loyalty that they held onto, even as the deception grew really thick around them. As times got hard, they stayed loyal. The conscience does not boast of perfection here. It simply confirms that their faith was real and that it endured. It's its voice aligns with the pages of the books and with the name that is written in the book of life. Okay, there is no contradiction here. For those whose names are not found in the book of life, the conscience turns against them. It drags forward every single moment that they knew the truth, and they knew the truth was being twisted, and then chose to believe the lie anyway. It recalls the times that they silenced its voice, the voice of your conscience, the opportunities that they walked away from, um, opportunities as in following Christ, and the deliberate decisions that they made to follow the powers and the deception of the age that they lived in. The conscience here gives absolutely no room for excuses. It speaks with painful exact detail about what they actually chose, even when they tried to drown it out during their lifetime. Before the throne, in front of the throne, that same voice now accuses without mercy. The regret that follows this is deep and it's final. It is a sound of a conscience that was ignored for too long, and finally then having its say. As the judgment moves forward, the books lay out every single work with, I mean, absolutely merciless clarity, with while the conscience of each person rises from within, and like a second witness, if you will. For those whose names are written in the book of life, now the conscience stands with them, affirming that their trust in the Lamb and Jesus was genuine. Now, for those whose names are not there, the conscience turns and accuses, dragging every hidden compromise, every deliberate choice out into the open. The two testimonies here speak, the books and conscience. Okay, they speak in perfect agreement. There's no gap between what was done outwardly and what the heart knew inwardly. Now, the one who is seated on the throne judges with perfect knowledge, and nothing remains hidden. So as we continue to watch the books being read, we we see the specific sins that mark the lives of those who are being removed. And some of these people had lived in sexual immorality, they lived in perversion, others had been consumed by greed, dishonesty, and the love of money. Not having money, but the love of money. Now some had given themselves to hatred, violence, horrible things. Others had practiced idolatry, worshiped fallen gods, and then willingly followed the lies of the little season eventually. So these same sins appear in the lives of many who stand among those whose names are written in the book of life. They too had at times committed sexual immorality. They had been greedy, dishonest, told lies, given over to hatred at times, or turned to gods that they worshiped. But when these same sins are read from the books of those in the book of life, they are from the book of life. They are not held against them. Like, it's not, those things are not being held against them. The record shows that they chose to seek forgiveness through Jesus. and chose to turn from those sins in genuine repentance, and then walked in newness of life by the power of the Spirit. So for those being removed, the very same sins stand as the evidence against them because they never repented or placed their trust in Christ. The difference is not that one group was sinless and the other was not. Okay, the difference is what they did when with their sin when it was exposed or when the conviction came. You see, so like we watch as the judgment continues without haste, without confusion. The angels move with a steady purpose as each life is examined. Their presence is not, it's not distant, it's not weird. Some stand close to those being judged. Their faces marked with us. I mean, think about it. They're marked with sorrow that does not even, and it's not going to interfere with the justice that is getting ready to be carried out. Like other angels keep their eyes fixed on the one seated on the throne, ready to move at any command. Hit the air the air around the throne even feels thick with the weight of what's being revealed here. Nothing is being rushed. Nothing is being overlooked. The one on the throne, he remains steady and he's unwavering. He's not unfair. He's never looking away until every record has been read and every soul has been accounted for. When the last name when the last name has been called and the final separation has been made, we see that the old order, and I mean the order that allowed the little season to exist with all of its deception and rebellion, and I mean everything before that too, but that has come to its end. Now, what lies beyond is this throne is something entirely new. So anyway, but those whose names are not written, in the book of life are removed from the presence of the throne. As they are taken away, the full weight of what is happening presses down on the entire scene. I mean, you can see it in your mind. We've all thought about this kind of stuff. The humans who are being separated feel the crushing anguish of regret, and in that moment, they see with perfect clarity every opportunity they had during their life to turn from their sin and trust Jesus. Instead, they remember but they have to remember the warnings that they dismissed, right? The truth that they chose to ignore, the ways that they willfully aligned themselves with the lies and the powers that dominated the age, whichever age that they lived in. The regret is not only for the fire ahead. I mean, it's a devastating realization that they had chosen this end for themselves, that the deception had succeeded with them, and that no excuse or hidden motive can change what is now being read from the books. Do you see the picture that's being painted? Like some begin to beg, and their voices their voices rise in desperation, like begging for leniency, another chance for mercy, but the response that comes is clear and it's final. God essentially said, like, you had an entire lifetime of leniency and forgiveness offered to you with Jesus' open hand to accept them, and you refused it. That the fallen angels and the watchers who are also removed experience their own ancient and final regret. They have known this day would finally get here. They watch the complete end of the rebellion that they began with when they left their proper domain. Remember that? Every single scheme that they advanced, every corruption that they spread through the centuries of their rule, and then eventually the little season, every nation that they helped deceive is now being answered without any remaining power to resist it. Now their influence is stripped away forever. This is it. Like the chains that have held them since their ancient sin now lead only to like an irreversible separation from the presence of the throne. Those whose names are written in the book of life stand here. Look at this. Stand and watch this separation unfold. They see the anguish and the regret on the faces of those being removed, the angels and the fallen angels and people. They see the fallen powers finally stripped of every claim and every influence that they had enacted on people. Everything is being laid bare. Every hidden motive, every secret promise, every moment of defiance or even cowardice when needed, when it was needed otherwise, now is visible to all. And in that moment, their gratitude for the work of Jesus deepens beyond anything they had ever known before. They understand with a fresh and sobering force, it is a force, that this could have been their own result. They remember the times during the little season and eons before when the deception pressed on them, and when compromise would have been easier, when it would have been easier, it would have been simpler to go along with the lies rather than continue trusting Jesus. They see clearly they see clearly that without the cleansing work of Jesus, the high priest, without his blood covering their failures and the Spirit then sustaining their faith through the pressures of their life, through whatever difficulty or hardship they had during that age, they would be standing in the same line of regret and removal that the other ones are in. The mercy that they receive becomes more precious as they watch what happens to those loved ones in their family, to those that even to those people that hated their neighbor, to those that they didn't even know, like those who did not persevere. Their own names in the book of life are not they're not a reason for pride. Of course, they're a reason for deeper and an unspeakable thankfulness to Jesus, um, who had secured them, and that they had continued to trust him through the very season that is now ending in this judgment. Then something shifts. From the side of the throne, holy angels bring forward a bound figure. Okay, he's winged and terrible in his ruined beauty. Think about it, a low gasp moves through those still standing here, which is who are left are the redeemed of mankind, as they finally see him with unveiled eyes. For the first time, they truly understand who has been, and they see who has been behind the deception, who has been behind the suffering, who has been behind the lies of the little season. Some people cover their mouths here. Others step back in horror. Even the holy angels who have not laid eyes on him for a millennia, for 2 millennia, whatever, they grow still at the sight of what he had become. The voice of the one on the throne turns toward this fallen cherub, and the words that follow are not rushed. They 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 have the weight of eternity behind them. He says, "You reached from my throne with hands that I formed, you who were perfect in your ways from the day that you were created, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. The anointed cherub who covered, who walked among the stones of fire, and you were blameless until iniquity was found in you. You were clothed with every precious stone, sardius, topaz. You had diamond, beryl, emerald, the most beautiful stones upon you, and the workmanship of your tabrets and of your pipes was prepared in you the day that you were created. You were the seal of perfection. You were the covering cherub. You were the most glorious of all my created beings, and still it was not enough for you. You said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven. You I will exalt my throne above the stars of God, and I will sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. God saying, you tried to lift your hand against the throne that holds all things together. You who wore the priestly stones and stood in the very presence of my glory, turned your beauty into a complete rebellion and your wisdom into destruction. You deceived the woman in the garden. You twisted my words and offered her a lie wrapped in light. And through her, you brought death into the world and then passed it down to every generation after. You deceived the nations across every single age since time began. You offered them power, you offered them pleasure and false security, and they bowed down to you. You held the kingdoms of this world in your grip and offered them to whoever would worship you, whoever would bend the knee, whoever gave you fealty. You stood before me and wagered on the faithfulness of my servant Job, and through him you wagered on all of mankind. You accused them day and night before me, saying that they only serve me because I blessed them with things, with physical things, with trinkets. You threw suffering at them like fire. You tempted them with every desire of the flesh and the eyes. You used pain, you used loss, you used death, you used confusion, betrayal, and the weight of the little season itself to break them. You whispered lies into their minds and turned brother against brother and filled the earth with complete violence, perversion, and despair. And when my son took on flesh and entered this world, their world, mankind's world, you rose up in open war in heaven. You gathered your forces and fought against my Michael and my angels, raging against the incarnation itself. Desperate, you were desperate to stop what had been promised from the foundation of the world. And still, they chose me. Mankind chose me through all of it, through the suffering that you brought, through the temptations that you crafted with your hands, through the powers that I gave you, the deception that you spread across nations and generations. There were still those who freely chose me through all of that. They chose me when it cost them everything. They chose me when the lie looked easier to them. They chose me when their own flesh cried out against it. They chose me when you had every single advantage, every kingdom, every tool of deception at your complete command. They chose me when the little season was at its darkest. And they still chose me. You have been weighed, Satan. You have been measured and you have been found wanting. And so now we watch as after that, death and Hades themselves are thrown into the lake of fire. Even the holding places of the dead are emptied and destroyed. Okay. Nothing that belonged to the old order is even allowed to continue. The little season, with all of its resets and cover-ups and strong delusions, has reached a terminus. It has reached its appointed limit, right? So, like, the throne has done what no human effort or hidden history could do. It has brought every hidden thing into the open, and I mean, like, and rendered a verdict that cannot be overturned. This is permanent. And so when it's finished, the weight of the judgment still hangs in the air, but ahead of it, something new begins to come through. The fire, the fire has consumed what could not remain, okay? And what comes next stands untouched. Like, it's a new heaven and a new earth where righteousness dwells without opposition, righteousness dwells without deception, and righteousness dwells without regret. Okay? It is truly amazing that on that day you will hear the greatest thing that you will ever hear. Well done, good and faithful servant, enter into my rest. We have to endure in the meantime. Okay? That's Christ. Just think about it. You who suffer, or we who suffer, it's almost like it's been designed into everything, because Jesus, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, God in the flesh, the Word made flesh, what did he come to do? He came and He was born as a man, and he came into suffering. He came into being, he had it tough, but he came into that, and he shared that, and he showed us that I'm doing it. You're going to do it too. If you don't have to suffer in this life, thank God every day for it. But for those that do suffer, in whatever measure it is, and we always compare our suffering. Well, my suffering is worse than this one, or my suffering is not. We always do these pissing contests, and we get lost in the weeds when we do that. But Jesus, he came into this world to suffer in order to cleanse the unrighteous for those that desire it. So as we walk behind him, stepping in his steps, holding his hand, trying to touch his robe throughout our life, right? You walk by faith and not by sight. And one day we will see what we had faith in. We will see in the flesh. We will see what we believed in. We will see him. And that'll be a great day. So I will say, I hope you guys are doing very well. And that's going to be the end of this 10-part series. And then I'm going to start working on the other stuff I told you about in the previous episode. And then, but in the meantime, I do have some things I'm going to post, some videos I'm going to post, and kind of as a small break before we start the final leg of this whole little season thing. So I hope you're doing fantastic, guys. And thank you for your encouragement. And I hope that I've been encouraging to you in some measure. And like I said, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me or write a comment. I will respond as best I can. So may the Lord bless you, and may the Lord keep you. May the Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. And may the Lord lift up his countenance to you and grant you peace. Good night.